These are parts of a extractor hood which I'm going to make for this machine. I'm going to test the cutout on a piece of MDF first before committing the actual material, which is 10mm acrylic. I'm going to be using acrylic that was intended for shelving, so it's not polycarbonate or anything appropriate, but in reality the machine is so small, if a bit breaks it's very unlikely to shatter the acrylic. So anyway, they cut out pretty well. I was happy with everything apart from the tabs, which are always annoying. I did a dry assembly of the extractor hood just to make sure I was happy with how everything fitted together. The groove is going to allow me to move it either out of the way when changing the bit or closer to the material that is being cut. So the first bit seemed to cut really nicely, but I was using tabs. The tabs are a little bit annoying because they seem to position themselves wherever they like, and they won't take into account what's easier to cut and sand. In this instance I wasn't using tabs, and obviously something must have happened while it was finishing this circle here and the bit just went off on its own. This ring that I was about to cut out, which I intended to attach the hose onto, just completely minced itself to bits. Maybe it's too brittle, I'm not too sure. In any case, I'm going to have another crack at cutting the oval out, and I will make sure there's tabs in place. So it seems okay. The two center circles have been cut out relatively accurately, but what I have noticed is first mill around the oval, the bit has stepped in a little bit on the top right hand corner and then seems to correct itself. So that would suggest, at least at that initial stage, something had gone wrong with the machine. I'm not sure really why that is. It kind of feels like when the carriage is at the front of the machine. I'll stop the waffling there. What seems to be the problem with the machine is either the belt is slipping or it is stretching. When you're cutting material like acrylic or aluminium, the forces on the machine are quite great. I think these are then transferred into the belt while the cutting head is moving through the material. If I just stuck with MDF for most of the things I want to cut, I probably wouldn't notice too much of a problem with the accuracy of the machine. But the second you start to move into more denser material, you begin to notice more errors with the machine's performance. So I cut everything out using the jigsaw and then used a roundover bit to clean the edges up a little bit. Something I did off camera, which I hadn't filmed, was taking everything outside and use a blowtorch just to gently heat the edge of the plastic. It's just a very quick way of hiding some of the marks. So when I went back to the machine to check the fit, I realised I didn't take into account the lead screw. So I mocked it all up, took it to the pillar drill and just cut a notch out. I sanded that up, rounded it over and took it outside and gave it a bit of flaming. So I'm just dry assembling everything together just to make sure I'm happy with what I've got. I wasn't happy with the base of the upright and how it fitted onto the oval section of the extractor hood. I decided to cut this flat on the table saw and then bring it back to the CNC machine where I was going to glue it. I did a test with some of the scrap pieces and the acrylic weld seemed to hold quite well. I couldn't prise it off by hand, but as I went about preparing everything and putting this stuff together, after I left it to dry for what I thought was a decent amount of time, as I placed the vacuum hose adapter onto the extractor hood, I managed to prise the pieces off. Considering the forces that will be playing on the machine head and the possibility of the hose actually getting caught, I decided to just tap it and put some machine screws in place. I scraped the remainder of the glue with a blade and marked everything up. I began reading a little bit around the subject of working with plastics, and I found a website which advocated using bicarbonate of soda and water, and then using a syringe to dispense a little bit of the water to the points that I'm cutting, and it made a massive difference. And I kind of wish I used this during the CNC process as well. It's no different from working with metal. It needs to be lubricated to provide a clean finish when drilling holes and cutting. And you can kind of see from the shot they look really neat. You know, this is kind of the nice thing about working with clear plastics. You don't get to see this kind of aspect or perspective when drilling metal or wood. After these were drilled, I then tapped the holes. I put a little bit too much bicarbonate of soda and water in these holes, and a bit of grit managed to get through as well, so I had to kind of swing these around just to make sure that came out. And then I screwed everything together. I took it back to the machine and made sure it fitted in place, and I was happy with everything. It looks pretty neat. It kind of fits with the kind of aesthetic of the machine, which I guess is very futuristic and kind of impending doom. Take me seriously, I'm a robot. The nozzle fitted in place really nicely. I could maybe get some like weather stripping brush or something and screw that around the edge of the oval as well, but I think I'll leave that to another time when I've had a bit more of a chance to see how this works with the machine. I took some toothpaste and some bicarbonate of soda, mixed it together, rubbed it on the Perspex, and then buffed the components just to give it a little bit of a shine. Please let me know if you found this video interesting in the comments below, and if you have any queries about CNC projects. I think I'm going to leave everything as it is. My next CNC video will look at some of the problems with the belt and how that can be solved, and hopefully the accuracy of the machine will improve.